Melissa, would you do roll call?
Jenna Barnett.
Here.
Fred Vogel.
Here.
Jen Reimer.
Here.
Mary Ann Reardon.
Here.
And Paula George.
Here. Any public comment?
Wasn't planning, but
Name and address, please. Name and address, please.
Adrian Jadick, 48 Cardinal Road. Here's what I want to urge everybody. You know, hi Greg. Thinking of the fact that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I'd like us to, you know, you obviously know I fully support the EAC, but I would also like us to look more intensively in what can be done about the trash and what happened with the trash. And again, I don't see how we can look forward without looking at what happened. And we have to look at, you know, what happened, what can be done in the short term, what can be done in the long term. And because I know Michelle last time shook her head, but I have all the 40 contracts from the other municipalities. And there is no justification for our 555 per year. No justification for not having tried to figure out something else, not having submitted it for rebidding. We did that with the stone house. Okay, we stopped the thing, we submit for rebidding. It doesn't matter. This is our borrow. 5 million for 3 years is not a joke. So we need to look at this. I'll be happy to work together with whomever. You've seen I prepared a spreadsheet. We can look at the contracts. I can make them available. You can look at them yourself. You know, numbers don't lie. So I think we need to. We need. The other thing is because we have the problem of the price and how we administer that price, how we administer the fee, how we pass it to the residents. Because over there is also other municipalities, like I've said before, have other approaches. We don't flat fee everybody. We look at various things. We could look at age, we could look at number of people in the household to alleviate some of the burden. So I think this has to be looked at more. I'd be happy if we want to do a subcommittee, whatever. Let's do it. And I'd love to see this going faster, because if I support the EAC, but if we're still looking at the same numbers, at the same tonnage. Oh, it's like every other year. Okay, so what do I do about it? I don't know. So then what's the EAC gonna do different? Other than look at the tonnage. So let's see what can be done. I've seen other municipalities there. They're asking for reports in the contract. We can do that. We can look at neighborhoods. All those trucks are weighed when they leave the facility and when they return. So we can figure out, okay, which truck, which streets did it go to, how much did it weigh? All these things can be done. So I think this is, and the other thing absolutely is look at each element, like we've had the conversation with the toothpaste tube, or the glass. What is the best for our residents? Is the glass a good idea? Is it not a good idea? Does mascaro care if we throw it in the trash? So let's take item by item. There are not that many items if you look at them, and give people the clear instructions. Okay, this can be done, this is good. Because of course mascaro, if we pay, what was that, 6 times more or 9 times more? I forgot the number. Of course they say, oh yeah, put everything in the recycling. Well, yeah, we pay 6 times more per ton. So of course they're gonna say that. So that's all I have to say. So I think we can look, maybe listen to other people, listen to other municipalities, listen to other haulers, I don't know. Thank you. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okey dokey. Trash.
So Marianne, I still owe you, Jose's working on getting us a map of where the 319, 320, and 321. There was a previous request by the committee to look at total weight collected for both trash and recycling by neighborhood. You can see there were reports that were sent out with the meeting agenda items. There's route productions that show the actual route, and then the tonnage collected. That was one of, I did not mean to close that. Hold on 1 second.
That wasn't in the documents.
I'll blow this up so you can actually see it. So they're showing dates collected and then tonnage, and then the information from this is what they took to put into the day of collection, the total weight, the average weight, and then they ranked them actually by income to show that the highest income areas are producing the lowest trash and also producing the highest amount of recycling.
Yeah, my question was more,
Where these areas are,
yeah, because there's only 3 areas in the recycling, whereas the waste, I know it's going by day, but how did they break down just 3 recycling areas?
so that's Jose's putting a map together for me. He did not send it as of 7 minutes ago. But I will share it with the committee once I have it.
Okay.
And on average weight, that means it's divided by the number of households?
Which it's an even number of households.
Okay, they are relatively
Yes.
even.
Yeah, that was their.
That was Janet's follow-up question.
Okay, alright.
So they're doing a trash job in the hills.
Guess so.
That was a bad
With the
joke.
lowest-
Not-
That was a
with
bad
the lowest
joke, but
income.
Yeah, we are not, well, yeah, but we're making a lot of trash. Data.
Yep.
Data. Alright. Was there any other questions that the committee would like Michelle to pass on to Ms. Garrett?
When is our contract up?
End of 25.
Keep rolling.
Thank you very
Then it's too late.
Alright. So I think probably we will want a subcommittee to think about what terms we want in the next contract. Because I think we have the ability to extend it for several one-year terms, is that right?
Correct.
Doesn't mean we want to.
No, I would suggest actually, if you're going to consider doing that, having gone through the experience of putting the RFP together 2 years ago, the sooner you start, the better. We put it out, I believe, in July of 22, and
First started January 23rd?
yes, yeah. But I'm not opposed to starting in January, February.
Yeah,
Check that off the list right away.
if it's,
And that gives you time to compare, you know, what bid you could reject and rebid and see if the numbers come in differently, but you also have that number to compare to whatever Ms. Gower is gonna come back to with the escalator for 26 if you would wanna extend the contract.
So you think the RFP should go out in
February, March.
Alright, so then we should probably get a subcommittee going by September, October, I think. Okay. Alright. Recycling glass. I thought it would be a good idea to ask our solicitor to interpret our contract to see whether, for example, what Ms. Farrow was doing with glass qualifies as recycling, and he thought that he did. So regardless of my personal feelings or anyone else's personal feelings about whether that's what we're hoping for recycling, he believes it's recycling, so.
So that would be a note for the subcommittee for the next contract is go through that list of, we clearly spell out in the bid docs what constitutes recycling, and glass is the very first thing listed on all options if you're gonna bid for recycling, and it's clear, colored, all of the glass. So, you know, for the subcommittee, I would suggest starting with that recycling list and editing what do you want, what do you not want, and look at single stream, and if that's an option you do or don't want for the future as well.
I mean, like Mascara said, glass recycling is pretty useless at this point. So I feel like what they're doing is a good option. They're crushing it, they're using it as a cover rather than using virgin soil, which has to be, you know, and recreated with, you know, decomposite, you know, just this is taking the place of them digging up dirt. And so it's really not a bad option.
Except it's heavy and it's increasing your tonnage.
Right.
But glass is something that is so recyclable, that can be used.
Right, but
over and
nobody
over.
wants it.
But there are only 3 places in Pennsylvania that will take the glass and recycle it into new glass, and none of them are near us. They're mostly out in the west. So
But this
Pittsburgh area.
total recycling does take the glass and
Crush it.
crush it.
Good stress relief.
Well, I mean, if you look, imagine 100 years from now, you know, if we could have them powder it, it would really be recycled. It would be like sand. So,
Breathe it.
what?
Well, we don't wanna
Then we
breathe
breathe it.
No, we don't want to breathe it, but we could dump it on a beach or something and it would be really recycled.
Well,
But
I
we are
still,
where we are now.
I still rather see glass recycle as opposed to possibly in the next, contract, just doing numbers 1 and 2 plastics, and the rest that really aren't recyclable, you know, unless we find a place that's gonna recycle it, don't put it in our recycling.
You're talking about your plastics now.
Plastics.
Okay, so what is happening to like number 5s that we put in?
Yeah, 3 to 7.
So what are they doing with those?
That's a question for Mascara. What are they doing?
Same place.
Yeah, we need to know that, because if they're just putting it in the landfill,
Yeah, we'll need to know that for the next contract.
Mhm.
yeah, okay.
I can ask that question.
Good, thank you.
I mean, he said it was sorted and they try and sell it off, but if it doesn't get sold off, there's no buyer. It's gonna end up in the landfill. Same thing with the glass. I know you wanna recycle glass, but if it's supply and demand. There's a lot of glass and there's not that many people who
Take it,
will
or
take
that
it.
we can get it to.
Get it to recycle it. It's not cost effective. So buy aluminum and not glass.
They don't sell wine in aluminum bottles.
What?
So they don't sell wine in aluminum bottles.
They sell them in those
I know.
those
Carton.
cartons, and I guess those are clearly
Yeah.
highly recyclable too, apparently. But I know, I'm with you.
Alright, any other discussion about recycling glass? On to composting. Marianne,
Well,
did your committee members want to join us for the discussion?
yes, please do. Ellen and where's Greg? Greg and definitely Dave. Dave put it all together.
Yes, that was a nice memo.
It was wonderful.
That's
So
usually-
please join us and,
You'd like you to join us at the table so you can have a better discussion.
Just to briefly summarize the presentation from the committee. Based upon a citizen's inquiry, the composting subcommittee was created and included Mary Ann and Ellen, Drew, and Gregory, and myself. Based upon web-based research and conversations with key individuals, we created a brief summary document for use by the R&R committee for further discussion. Composting may include yard waste only, food waste only, or both. According to Joan Meeks, who is the Executive Director of Berks County Solid Waste Authority, there are currently no community composting programs for food waste in Berks County. She notes that the key challenge is contamination. Previous efforts at the county level were unsuccessful, and she does not anticipate any attempts in the coming years. In Berks County, there are no private companies who contract at the individual or municipality level to accept food waste for composting. Here in Wyomissing, and I'll maybe ask Michelle to make sure that I'm correct in this, it's my understanding that the citizens' yard waste, which is removed by Mascaro, is then taken to a composting facility. This is the citizens' yard waste. The borough's collection of leaves and other waste from storm damage are stored at a site near Wyomissing Creek and processed outside of the borough. Even this limited storage apparently created some challenges for obtaining a permit because of its location near the creek, but it was successful a couple of years ago. In our region, Lancaster has a volunteer community co-op for food and yard waste, and also has a private company that offers residential and commercial food scrap removal in select areas of Lancaster County. Media Pennsylvania has recently created a curbside scrap collection program, and on their website there is a complete feasibility report, and it was a heavy lift. It was not something that was easy. So the subcommittee's report includes information from about potential benefits and risks of composting, and links to further information on home and community composting. Our suggestions are that we consider offering education to the public about the benefits and practical methods to perform safe, convenient home composting. Venues include Talking Trash, publication, and lectures at Wyomissing Library or other sites. Penn State University Extension is offered to provide speakers, and we have contacts for those. I don't believe that there are any ordinances about home composting that would be problematic.
No, we've actually had neighbors call and complain on other neighbors that have home composting programs and had to have an educational conversation with them. It's not considered trash and rubbish. If it's a legitimate composting area, it is not a code violation.
Okay. So education on what legitimate is, I guess, would be relevant. We inform the Wyomissing resident, I guess it's Judge Grimm, who inquired about the compost opportunities, and I believe that, Marianne, you've already had some preliminary discussions with him. And then, and then I guess it's up to the Refuse Committee to take this to the next step. If the committee has interest in, it would probably be of value to look at costs of our current yard waste program and the costs of the borough's process of leaf and storm waste materials, so at least know what we're paying right now for what we're doing. And again, if the committee's interested, we can glean further information from the Lancaster Co-op and the Lancaster County Private Composting Service to see if they would have interest in extending into our county, and to check with Media PA's experience, which is fairly early. They've just recently started their program in recent years. So I just sort of stop there, and I guess we move to the committee's discussion.
That's a lot for a short period of time. Thank you for all the hard work.
Sure.
Judge Grimm thought that the city of Reading was looking at composting. Do you have any? Do you hear anything about that?
My understanding is that they do collect yard type materials that but nothing for food waste.
Okay.
And I don't know what they do, where they send their materials.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Food for thought for the committee. As part of the parkland study, the leaf dump area, as we affectionately refer to it, was noted, and I believe the recommendation is going to be to move that because of its proximity to the creek. We do unfortunately have to pay to truck those leaves off-site to somebody that actually wants them, and it's not a cheap endeavor. I think maybe looking at a composting area in the parklands for borough purposes would be a good idea. I think when you open that to the public, now you have the contamination issue, and how do you control that?
Yeah. To be able to compost that rather than pay somebody else to take it away.
Hey, we could compost it and sell it and actually make money off of it, but
Spring Township apparently does their own grinding of the yard waste on site, and they give people a pass to get in, and it's locked so that it's not an easy, nobody can just kind of come in and dump it in there. I expect Jim probably knows all what's going on in Spring.
Lower Heidelberg has one like that, and Warnersville as well.
But that's just for yard waste?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
It sounds like one way to gauge community interest would be to have a presentation at the library. I think they're always looking at speakers. I can ask Rick Weinhofer, who's on the Borough Council, or just call Colleen and see how to set that up. But that would give us some idea of how much interest there is in the community.
Do we have somebody who could sort of speak to the benefits of it thoroughly and like sort of talk about home, where, I mean, obviously, we're not gonna jump into like food composting on a,
Presumably the Penn State Extension folks
would be able to come out,
Yeah.
yeah, somebody like that would be, yeah, okay.
You may locally, there's a couple that lives on Franklin Street that have their own business. It's like natural landscaping, and they also teach and set up composting for customers. And I know a few borough residents that they've set up and they actually maintain the compost area for them. I can get you their contact information.
It would be nice to have a panel.
Yeah, it would be nice. What's the name of their
And then
business?
people that have set up
I
their
should know
own
this.
composting, also like Dave has been doing our home composting for how long? Many years, anyway. And actually, I grew up, we composted all the time, but I lived in a more rural area. It's really not difficult
That's
at
the name
all.
of it.
You can get
Freedom
an
of freedom.
expensive
Grow.
bin to put it in, you
Your own
just
freedom.
pile, and put leaves on it.
It's Jordan
But,
and Danielle.
I think having a panel that would include
It's Grow Your Own Freedom.
Yes.
people
It just came to me.
communicating they're already doing it
Hold on.
and how they're doing it.
I can get you the correct spelling of their last name.
Yeah, I also compost at home.
Ah.
I'm using the one, not very particular good thing, which I bought from Aldi. The same thing I sold at Lidl. It's like a cube made of 4 sides,
The
plastic,
business is really
and
Jordan's, but she
the
lets out.
cover.
That's what we're
No,
using.
but the professional people are telling it's not very good. It's only useful, very useful for leaf composting. If you have leaves, you put inside. It's just a thing that contains the leaves. The better choice is a barrel, and which is movable. Either it should be rolled back and forth or turned upside down. Why? Because this allows oxygen to go inside.
Yeah, or you have to
Yes.
physically,
Yes.
Right.
Otherwise,
Right,
you have
yeah.
to physically, and then you
Yeah.
have to have an area.
Or
Something
labor
like
versus
the box.
cost.
Yes.
Time versus money.
So what I suggest, we may find, we may look and find some kind of company who is producing such devices as turn upside down barrels, and we can contact them and place an order for them, and then contact our residents and like connect them together, or through us, they pay us, we pay bulk to the producer of these devices, and then we have less garbage. Like I have 2 small garbage bags in a week, sometimes one, because everything goes to compost.
Yeah.
So this may be useful, reducing what we pay for the garbage collection, useful as we have soil for our residents, for plant creation, like for their flower beds, for their tomato things, whatever. And basically it's education for the children also in the community. So let me think about it.
And in terms of providing or having available for citizens to purchase, I think maybe we should look at like a grant to set up something, to help people set up their home
Yeah.
composting. Like, who was it that was maybe considering if we had an EAC granting, potentially grant
Rotary?
Rotary seems to
Oh.
projects.
something like that, that wouldn't have to be very expensive. I actually think the plastic bin we've been using, and Dave only kind of turns it maybe twice a year, and he gets quite a bit of soil out that he puts in the garden, so although it speeds it along, it's not really necessary.
Basically, one should have 2 of them. One to be filled, turned around, and another is waiting. Then you go to this one, only turn around, then it's ready, the whole
Yeah.
barrel goes.
But it has to be easy for everybody.
Yeah, but
Yeah, it doesn't
The
necessarily
device-
have to
the
be done
device
that way,
is,
it's not done that way in the
text and
forests,
you can
you know,
rotate
it
it.
just drops and
Yeah.
composts.
Yeah.
Drops and rots.
Yeah, it just drops and rots, so I mean, you could just put it in the bin and let it sit and it will eventually
No.
it will,
You
Yes.
have to.
just like it does in the
Yes.
forest, it
you
will go
have
faster
to
if you're
do-
adding
yes,
oxygen.
you have to
Yes.
turn it around and very often.
And if, depending on what kind of food scraps you have in there, if there's issues with getting
Yes,
oxygenation and stuff in there,
but
right?
mainly you have to turn it around, otherwise it is anaerobic decomposing, which not good for the soil.
Alright, so in addition to the library, perhaps we can talk about having something at Earth Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, great idea.
Okay.
And on the Facebook marketplace, around us, there are a lot of people who are selling their old barrels. Just selling
That's
them,
not-
10 bucks. The problem for us, we cannot get there. My car cannot accept these things but
Right,
for
well,
them-
let's see how many people
for
show
the
up at this
municipality.
presentation, and
Right.
whether, we're not gonna buy composting bins
No.
unless we know if people are
Yeah.
Yes,
interested.
you have to get
Critical
a
mass.
number of people who are willing to pay, and then
Anything more in your report?
Anything else?
I think you all did a great job,
Yeah.
particularly in such a short period of time. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for all your thoughtfulness and hard work.
Can I just ask a question? I don't know if it's germane to this, but I've always wondered, why isn't it that we could put, more than yard waste into our yard waste bags?
Because they're biodegradable. Like they're paper bags.
What are you thinking?
Are you
of,
thinking,
No,
what, are you
to
thinking of
put-
putting food in there?
she's saying to put the food
Or
waste.
even, yeah,
You
like,
mean like, banana peels
Banana
and
peels.
apple
Yes,
cores,
or-
that's what she's
Yeah.
asking.
Because the
Eggshells.
contract defines yard waste as actual like leaves, foliage,
very
branches, sticks,
specific.
yeah.
So we could look at that as part of the contract.
and apple things will be smelly.
yeah, that's true.
And your neighbors will not be happy.
Well, it's getting picked up very
Yeah.
good.
And
Yeah,
then
we
some
were doing it the last
critters will
month.
come inside and make a hole in your bag.
Yeah.
But that's what some of the other communities are dealing with though,
Yes.
you add food, but then people start throwing in meat
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know,
Right.
different things that can't be
That's
in
the
there, and that's
problem.
the contamination problem, which is why
Exactly.
yard waste is yard waste and
Mhm.
food waste is a whole
And
different
they,
ballgame.
they interpret it as they want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I didn't eat this, let's just throw it in there.
Okay.
Leftover loading, throw it in there.
Yum, yum, yum.
That'll break down.
Okay, and let's move on to EAC.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. The solicitor's draft did not incorporate the ideas, the recommendation of our subcommittee. So I did a schizophrenic draft, where it's from Environmental Advisory Council down, shows the changes to our current ordinance. Before and after, I changed the introductory language of the solicitor and the concluding language. So as you can see, under Pennsylvania law, it should be a council, not significant. Under the law, it should be 5 to 7 members. There's no magic number on how many should be council. I thought that because, I think we all thought because it's an advisory council, because we don't have as much power as most of the committees of the borough, it was appropriate there was no harm in having more residents, members.
Yeah, it parallels with Park and Shade or Economic
Board.
Development or Rec Board.
Yeah. Given the community interest in EAC, we thought that it was also appropriate to have non-voting members, because the public wants to participate. Unlike other committees, we actually have more people who want to participate than we have the ability to offer positions right now. So we suggested having non-voting members. That was not included in the borough solicitor's draft, so I put it back. And we also talked about having a chair and vice chair, so it was clear who would be running the meetings and who would be doing it in the absence of the chair. All this was consistent with the recommendations of our subcommittee.
And with the Act 148, right?
Yeah, Act
So
one
you're-
forty-eight didn't mention the non-voting members.
Right, oh, okay.
But in terms of the number of members, in terms of the 3-year terms, all that is Act 148. And then Act 148 had general descriptions of the responsibilities of the EAC. We chose to recommend more specific list, which was consistent with the general description. But I think it will prompt people to think more about what we can do if we had specific suggestions, so.
And then following along with Chris's suggestion of making sure it's borough focused,
Yes.
I think you addressed well.
Thank you.
We go back a little bit, you missed a rather detailed thing, but keep going. The size and composition of the EAC may be changed. May was deleted there.
Ah, you're right, thank you.
And then I have a question as to, I don't know the procedure. Does the Borough Council President have authority to appoint chairs? Does he appoint chairs to committees?
Historically.
Or the
he has.
committees do that themselves?
It's been done both ways historically. The planning commission is the one historically has always appointed their own chair and vice chair. The majority of other committees, commissions, boards, the president of council appoints.
Although I remember, I
I don't
remember
know if that's the
you,
law though,
but
or
you,
just
I
tradition.
remember sitting in a Park and Shade Tree meeting and you nominated Kate to
I
be the
did.
chair. You did, so it's done both ways.
But I don't think Chris was here. I think that answer needs to be determined. I don't think you should take power out of the hands of the president, if that's where it belongs. If not, then keep it at the committee.
We actually had that conversation at the end of 23 and there's no legal requirement to do it either
Okay.
way.
All right.
So would you be more comfortable if it simply said that a chair and vice chair would be appointed and not say by whom?
No, I'm fine with the language if that's,
Okay,
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't contrary to what the code said. That's what my concern.
okay. So far we need to change it, I need to put the May back.
Yeah, and I think it would be burdensome to have the president of Borough Council approve whatever selections are made. So what happens if he doesn't approve any of it? It's a nonsense, so, okay.
Okay. Then we're now back to the borough solicitor's language. I tweaked the old ordinance parts.
That's boilerplate.
Yeah, not switch it in.
Pattern language, please.
Yeah. There you go, I'll put that in. So,
You don't get paid by word.
hey.
We used to.
Hey. All right, so my question is my proposal with the May change acceptable to the committee?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I guess we should vote on whether to approve this draft. Is there a motion? Vote.
The attorney who drew up the draft that we didn't approve,
The borough solicitor,
the
Mr.
borough
Arlen, yeah.
solicitor, has he gotten back to you about drawing up another one, or, I mean,
Well, he said he didn't understand what his charge was.
I think he was under the assumption that what we gave to him was a generic one that we found versus one that we developed ourselves. So
my
he tried to
question
take that.
is he working on one?
No.
right
No,
now?
he took,
Okay,
we
okay.
talked to him, we took
I
it to
told him I
Jana.
was going to take a crack at
Okay.
it.
And so,
Okay.
But
yeah,
he should really approve this
Absolutely.
draft.
Yes,
So-
he should.
yeah,
Yes,
so
I'm not,
Jana-
I'm not trying to bypass it, I just
Right.
wanna see what we wanna do first and
That's
then.
what we planned.
so yeah, we approve that Jana's corrections on Chris's updated ordinance and then it goes back to Chris.
Okay.
So that's why I wanna have a meeting so quickly to keep this moving, so
Yes, because
sometime in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so
I'll
is
make a
it,
motion to approve the ordinance.
I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
Well,
I'm sorry.
I have a question. It's not to approve it, it's to submit it to the solicitor.
Approve that it be, approve that it be
Right.
moved to the solicitor for his review.
Yes. I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that one too.
I'm in favor.
All in favor? Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm opposed.
Okay.
Thank you.
So my question for, actually, hopefully Michelle can answer, is after Chris's review, does it have to, if he approves it as proposed, can it go to council or does it have to come back to us?
Technically, you're not making a motion for council,
Right.
but I mean, I could put it under my manager's report. If you don't want it to have to come back to this committee, I could always put it under my report.
Well, I think if he approves it, then it should keep moving. If he is
Has
suggesting
questions,
changes,
then-
then it should come back to us.
That's fair.
Okay. Alright. Any further discussion on the EAC? Alright. Any public comments in light of the meeting?
Can I say something I forgot the first time?
But can I go first, back to this ordinance?
Sure.
Can we make sure that, so if it's being sent to the solicitor, that he get the other information that you provided also about the act?
Well, I mean, at this point, he's not weighing in on that part of it.
But I think he should know maybe he would be more effective if he knew the background, why it was written the way it was.
I think he already understands that from his conversation with Jenna.
Okay?
I mean, I don't see Chris having an issue with this. I think Chris is gonna review it in terms of, reasonable applicability under the state borough code and that it meets the requirements for an ordinance to be adopted.
Okay, good, alright,
Okay.
Good. I wanted to say something. I wanted to thank Dave and Ellen and Greg for their awesome work in researching composting, and then Dave putting it all together. That was phenomenal for us. I mean, when I read it, I was like, okay, thank you, Dave, because wow, we could not have done it without you, honestly. And, Ellen looking into media and Albany. I researched Lancaster. I mean, there's lots of composting going on, and they have great programs, but we need to start small, like Dave suggested, and so thank you. Greg is already composting, so he knows what he's doing. Thank you.
Quick public comment?
Yeah, I forgot to say something. I think it's also very important that we actually find a way, I think we have enough people here, to understand how exactly this machine at Mascaro works. A simple Google search shows that, to use the same example with a glass, what happens with a bottle of glass that is put into the compactor, into the machine that crushes it, it crushes. Then that glass goes through a cardboard or some other stuff, or through a plastic bottle. When this comes on that machine has no capability to yank it out of that cardboard bag. And like I said, I researched this, I looked at it, and this is why they say this is the worst type, because with this, the cardboard and the bottle go to trash. It has no possibility, physical, I'm an engineer, there's no way, there's no tiny little guy pulling those things apart once it comes back into the machine. So that machine has limited capabilities. I would love to see how it operates. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a miraculous machine that has some little gnomes over there that pulls the But that's one thing, and the other thing is, let's always try to look at the raw data. Like I'm looking at the actual contracts. Let's look at the raw data, ask raw data from Mascaro, not their interpretation, because I've seen this over and over. We call Mascaro, they give a speech, but we have nothing to show that what they said is correct. So, I think that's important for the future to ask for raw data for tonnage, what have you. Thank you very much, that's it.
Thank you. Rick?
I want to say something also. A couple of words about the glass that they crush and put on site. If we look into the price of this crushed glass, I believe it's gold compared to dirt that they dig somewhere, not the topsoil, they dig dirt to put at the end of the day over the site where they put trash. So to me, it's not economically good to collect our bottles, pay for it, sort it in this machine, and then crush it and
Yeah,
get to the
Doesn't make any
landfill.
sense.
First thing. And the other thing, I would like to ask you a question. When they collect yard waste, how often are they doing it?
Once a week.
Every week?
Yes. Every Monday.
Every Monday?
Well,
And-
March through December.
Yeah, every Monday.
And do they get
Yeah,
the
my house.
whole like truck filled with the
Mhm.
waste at the end of the day? Do they?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching.